Hello and welcome to Dario's Comic School, and today I guess I will call this writing in a nutshell, writing for comics, or probably how I write comics, and I will explain you how I'm writing my rock and roll vampire hunters, or how I'm piecing together the stuff that I will do. And there's also one question, do we write from our intuition or do we write with a formula? I think I'm more the intuition guy. I think I've consumed a lot of stuff and therefore I can just mix it up and put it on a paper. But I don't want to be arrogant or say that maybe that's enough, because maybe there are videos, there are books. Writing is a craft, the same as drawing is a craft. And so I will show you both sides and how I do it and how my process looks right now. So where do we start? At the end of the video, I will recommend you also the best video on that, I think, because I wrote down I'm the comic school, but probably if I'm not the best professor right now, I will send you to other professor or schools that are better. And the best video on this I've seen was Plot 101 by McKee and Gray. At the end of the video I will link them, or I will link them down below. And his approach is a bit like that from RobertMcKee, or probably like JohnTruby's. Very formal stuff, but works. I think works all of the time. And then we have like Matt Garvey, comic scripts, what do you need to know? Like this guy has a lot of videos, Matt Garvey, on writing and how to write. I think he's a comic book writer or an indie writer. Then of course there's Mark Criley, but he also does tutorials on how to draw an elephant. I don't know, like I would stick to comic people. But there's a lot out there, but I will cover the space because I'm also showing you how I'm doing rock and roll vampire, and the books that are here, they guide me towards my own book. Another thing, for one guy asked, can you show me how to draw like Charlie Adlert? We will do that. And another guy asked me, can you show me how to draw like Uderzo and Frank Queen? We will do that too. So let's get started. I woke up, today's the 16th, and yeah, let me show you. I woke up and I kinda took pen and paper, as you can see, and I was sitting in my bed and I grabbed a couple of things because I was thinking, okay, I grabbed these books. These are my books on how to write, and there are books for writing screenplays. And then I grabbed Sin City and I grabbed Golden Boy, and I grabbed a couple of first issues from Crimson, The Max, and Black Hammer, because I was thinking maybe I need the advice from the writing books, but also I want a bit of Sin City in my books, and I want a bit of Golden Boy in my books, and a bit of Sabretooth Swordsman. And we will see how that comes all together. So, as you can see, I'm just taking a paper and I'm writing down the story, Rock and Roll Vampire Hunters. So in each episode there must be rock and roll, whatever that means. And in each episode there should be, or episode or comic, there should be vampire hunting. I'm planning, let's say, 12 issues in my mind. And there's definitely, wait a second, I have to grab something. I was also ordering the stuff I also already have, and I was putting down the steps that I need. As you can see, the steps that I need: writing the idea, synopsis, story, and then once you have it, you cross it off. Thumbnails, once you have them, for the issue 1, you cross it off. Then you start with layouts. Then you cross it off. Then you go to pencils, inks. And I was also thinking, should I do this comic in black and white? But I'm thinking and adding to this, I will use color because I love color and I see color in this comic, but I will do it like 100 bullets. That's my coloring style. Plus inking style. So this is how I will do it, and it's kind of similar to Sin City, but it's a bit different. And then as you can see, I was checking all these boxes, and then I thought, okay, boy, you gotta start at the beginning. And I have a rough idea, and as you can see, I once worked for movies, and once you had an idea and a script, you could go to a producer, and once you had the money from the producer, you could start looking for locations, looking for actors, who would play which role. You could hire a team of people, the production team, one would spot the location, one would be the casting agent, you know what I mean, like all of these things. And so here I have my cast characters and scenes, and after that there are the thumbnails. So as you can see, like on that plan, I was laying everything out, and then I came to this because I was thinking, okay, how do I write this? Do I write with what I have? And let me see, like the guy from Plot 101 from that video, he made it kind of like in these things, like you start again with the end in mind. What do you want to see in the end? What should happen? What's the story about? And then you go through. Let me see, there should be somewhere right here, an up and down, how the story should go. And then we talk a bit about a book. Yeah, wait, let me see. Where is it? He talks about genre, structure, all of that stuff. And, well, this is not the up and downs I wanted you to show, but there are some up and downs, like you begin with the end in mind, what should happen, what's at the beginning, what's the story about. Let's say, for the intents and purposes, like at the end of the story, my guy is a different man. Like he starts out as a loser, and then at the end, he's a winner. Or at the beginning, the protagonist is a nobody, and at the end, a somebody, or praised. Or at the beginning, there's a monster, and at the end, the monster is beaten. You know what I mean? Or at the beginning, you're poor, and at the end, you're rich. And so you have the end point and the beginning point, and you have to close these gaps. But these gaps, like, they have to go like this. Like you want a roller coaster ride. That's what a movie is about, or a comic, or a story. And in the end, and I think RobertMcKee says that, I could read a passage or two, but it's very beautifully. At the end, you learn something about the value of life, and yeah, great stuff, definitely. But let me show you. So this was the formal approach, and I was thinking, should I go the formal approach? But something else was in my mind. In my mind, I was thinking more in terms of, okay, what would be fun? I have a story in my mind. It's about vampires. It's about hunters. It's about Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez stuff. It's Grindhouse. It's From Dusk Till Dawn, all of that. And so I started a bit of a different route. It was not this formal stuff. It was, okay, what's fun? And so in each episode, there must be this. And then I was writing down. And then I kind of grabbed Golden Boy. And in Golden Boy, like you have this guy and his Kintaro Oe, and he's a young guy, and he rides to town with his bike, and he's looking for a job, and he was in school in some faculty, and he was one of the best students, but then he quit to experience life and the school of life. If you want to check the review, it's the older one, it's up here. And so he wants to learn about life. And you think, okay, this is a manga, it's about girls, and it's about the sky, and it's about lust. And there's definitely some in this, but it's truly about life. It is about people, it is about action, how people act. This woman is pretty rich, and she wants to pay him, and he says, no, I don't need any money, nothing happened, and something like this. And she gives her the money, she gives him money, and he said, that's too much, and he grabs her, and she just smacks him. So, yeah, that's already strange, and, well, maybe not strange, but you know what I mean. So he writes things he learns in his book, and he brings his bike to the repair shop, and there he encounters Yakuza people, and he wants to help this older guy, but he doesn't know how. So pretty similar. Already you get introduced. It's a young guy. He's inexperienced. He rides to town. He wants to learn about life, and that's it for the beginning. And I was checking that out, and I thought to myself, man, that's the same like in some 90s movies. Like there's a movie called U-Turn or Red Rock West, where a stranger comes to town, and then in that town, let's say his car breaks down, something like this. And as you can see, I'm analyzing what I have, the same as the things I'm telling you. In U-Turn and Golden Boy, the vehicle breaks down, and you're kind of stuck in that city, and then things happen, and that's like called the inciting incident, a collision that shakes up the status quo. And this is where this story comes. You have like your ordinary world. Let's say today my life, it's ordinary. I do my things, and then let's say something shakes it up. I meet a woman, I break my bones, I win the lottery, an old friend comes to town, he's a millionaire. You know, something happens that shakes up your life. And all of a sudden, you're on a different trajectory, and that leads you to create a new status quo. But there's always something that the hero needs or wants, and it's definitely in this book, and definitely also in this JohnTruby book. And let me say something. Well, this is the premise, and here is the desire. Like there's some obvious desire, like he wants to get rich, he wants the girl, and then under the surface is the need to grow up, self-revelation. I'm capable of this and that, or maybe, you know what I mean. There's some growth, and the audience grows with the reader or with the movie, and learns about life, like Saving Private Ryan. Neat. Hero John Miller must do his duty in spite of his fear, psychological and moral desire. He wants to find Private Ryan and bring him back alive. Full Monty, this is a cool movie about, I don't know, there are some workers in Great Britain, but they're broke and they need a new avenue of money. So each of the men in the group needs to gain his self-respect, desire. They want to make a lot of money by performing naked in front of a room full of women. Like the desire is on the surface, but underneath it there's something that we call revelation or self-revelation, where you're behind in life, and then after the story, the hero kind of is self-revealed that he can't be harmed, that he can do whatever he wants, that he's unbound, and we will see that. And another great tip, like I recommend these two books, but you don't need to you don't need to get them both because they're pretty thick books. And the mistake I did was I got them both, and I started reading them both to the half, but they have similar systems but not entirely the same. And so you're kind of working then two systems, and as you can see, then you get stuck. So just get one. JohnTruby shorter and a bit clearer. RobertMcKee talks a bit more, but very beautiful, like an older guy. Pretty cool, and both are great. So this is what I can recommend. Otherwise, go check out Plot 101 by McKay and Gray. That video goes 20 minutes, or check out Matt Garvey. But yeah, let's talk on. So I was kind of thinking, yeah, this is page 2, so this is page 1. So I had this, I grabbed this comics, and it was from my intuition. I was not planning that. I just had in mind, okay, Brick, I gotta get the Sin City out, because Brick is a bit like Marv, but different in a way. But he's also like a hard-boiled guy. He was in the war, and I think we start with Johnny, and Johnny is like this kid, and he knows nothing about the world. Maybe he thinks like he's invincible and something like that. And over the story, he learns to grow, and he also grows through darkness. Like this is like his mentor, and this is the opposing force, and we will see. But it was like, what if Golden Boy meets Sin City and Sabretooth Swordsman? And Sabretooth Swordsman, the review is up here, also for Sin City. But yeah, this is from Aaron Conley and Damon Gentry, and we start the story with the face of a guy who's completely beaten up, and he wakes up and he finds this leaflet to the god of the mountaintop. So he climbs up to the god of the mountaintop, and he says he has the desire to become strong and an avenger because something was taken from him. And so on the mountaintop, he gets transformed, or he gets his wish fulfilled, and he transforms into this Sabretooth swordsman, and he's now ready to avenge the wrongdoing that was done to him. And in the first issue, we see like a lot of fighting, but then we get a backstory, and we learn that he had a wife, and something evil is befalling the town, and they take his wife and beat him up, and they take also his farm, and then he wakes up as this Sabretooth swordsman. He doesn't recognize himself, but now he's able to take revenge, and is similar to the spaghetti western story where a lonesome gunfighter comes to town, and some evil people have claimed the city, and so the lone gunfighter or Sabretooth swordsman starts cleaning up the city from the evil stuff, and Berserk is kind of like the same, and that vibe I have going in my comic too. And so I had this, and innocent, young, he's just looking for playing music, and he wants to be a great musician, and he wants a girl, and then something goes wrong. And I kind of drew him cheerful, and I think at the end of the story he will still be cheerful, but he will be a bit more, mature, I would say. Again, I want to keep it kind of fun, like From Dusk Till Dawn. But I'm trying to find the story. So a young guy comes to town, and this is from my intuition. I'm just planning. I'm not checking the beats in the book. I'm not checking right now the beats on the other videos, but I certainly will do that. But maybe I'm just first getting an idea what I want, and then I will try to kind of lay it out what could happen, and then maybe I go back to 1 or 2 books, or maybe to that video I recommended, and I will then start working my story like a pizza. How do you say? Yeah, like cooking something good. And what I have now is like it starts and we see him driving, and then maybe something drives by and he looks right, or to the left, and maybe he sees this beautiful woman, or maybe he sees the Winnebago with some vampires. I don't know what he sees, but that's where my story starts. And I was again checking, like at the beginning there is something like a dream stage also for Golden Boy. He meets the woman. She looks absolutely fantastic. Like he gets run over, and then he sees this goddess. Like she gets out of her car, and he's kind of stunned. And this has some dreamlike quality. Like he gets the money for his bike, so he can repair it. And then once that's over, he wakes up in the reality where he's just repairing his bike, and some Yakuza are kind of intimidating the repair guy. He should pay up. And also like Sin City starts a bit dreamlike, also like the Sabretooth, a swordsman. This is very dreamlike fantasy. Everything is going great. We don't know what happens. And then he explains a bit the scene. He says always, sometimes moments are not that great. You think they're great, but they never live up to be that great. But this moment is. And then it fades to black, and he's pretty happy. And then he wakes up, and something's very wrong, and he's been framed for murder. He already knows that he's, police showing up. And so there's this dream stage and then this nightmare. And there's also another channel called Justin Wells, and he talks about the 7 major plot points: rags to riches, beat the monster, and all of that stuff. So I was writing down here, and I was reading Sin City 1, and Marv mentions that he has no purpose in life, and that he was in the war, and that the hardest thing in his life is that he doesn't know why he wakes up every day and still exists. So that is for him the hell, to not know where he belongs and what's his purpose. That is what is telling here this woman. And that drives him crazy. And, well, yeah. Then I kind of wrote down Sin City, Marv Goldie, wakes up, revenge, violence, action, Sabretooth swordsman, beaten up badly, kind of gets transformed, and then he goes back to... We see what has happened to him, and then he goes and avenges that. And so the tone in all of my stories is kind of like we have a hero, something goes wrong, something the hero wasn't looking for, maybe some injustice happens, and then the hero goes and avenges that. So it's, yeah, kind of something treated you badly, and now you're out for revenge. You're going to fight injustice and the evil forces because nobody else will. And that's probably a story about growing up, so that you create your own domain, your own space, your own reign, where you are the ruler and you're not being ruled by these evil forces. So probably it's a rags to riches story. What do I have else? Let me see. 1, 2, 3. I thought it was 4. Here we have this storytelling cycle, and I checked. I got this one from a guy on YouTube on how to tell stories for YouTube, and he also shows like how to train a dragon. That at the beginning there's a dragon plague, and then Vikings and dragons are not working together, and then they depart, and then they face trials, then they approach the big fight, then they lose the big fight. The same maybe should be for my story, but I don't know if I want to keep it to this. Like, this is like cooking 101, making a comic story, and it works all of the time. But I don't know, maybe I deviate a bit from this, or I do it exactly like this. I don't know yet. And then there's a big crisis, like they try to right the wrong, and it gets even worse. Like, now it's the darkest hour, and then they find something, some treasure, something they didn't think of before, something they were missing. And this treasure is definitely also part of the self-realization. Like, they tried, they did it, or they wanted to do it, but they failed miserable. So something has to change within the hero, within the story, within the realization, and then they gotta do it in a different way, and then they make it, and then they return, get to a new life, and get to a status quo. And so story at the core is about transformation, about learning, about changing from one thing to another that is probably higher evolved. But there are also stories, RobertMcKee talks about this, where we see a guy that's honest, and then at the end of the movie, he's a mafia boss. So there's definitely, we can see the transmutation towards up, and we can see the transmutation towards the down spiral, and we as the audience learn what to do and what not to do, and hopefully experience this not by being told the things, but by being shown and by empathizing with this. So sorry for the long video. Now it's time to link these below. Matt Garvey, check out his comic scripts, what you need. I will link him down below or here. Plot 101, McKay and Gray. And then what can I tell you? Probably, and this is what I will do, I will read issue once of a few comics and see how they do it, how they pace their stories. For example, I was reading Crimson, and at the beginning I was pretty bored. And then we'll see what will happen, how he will get turned. The Max, on the other hand, I wasn't bored, but it's pretty... I mean, it wants to fight already in the first few pages, but then the police show up and take the Max with him, but then... it's a different story. It's not already fighting, so you can definitely deviate. And Black Hammer, I haven't read the issue 1 yet, but it starts very slow, and then I don't know where the conflict is or how it will build up, but it's definitely the characters. Like, it's people talking to each other, and you see that something's not working, or it used to work in a different way. And so take a look at your favorite comics and then structure them the way you want. And if you want to get a book or check out these books, JohnTruby, The Anatomy of Story is great, or RobertMcKee story. Again, maybe not both, or not both at the same time. First one, and these are kind of workbooks. Like, you have to read, and then you have to apply what you got, and kind of work your writing. So we see us in the next video, and have a great day.